Has football got you down? Let's take a spin in the world of the NBA. It's another fun DFS slate today where Kyrie Irving just got ruled out, and I had to figure out minutes on my own because the data hasn't been updated. But have no fear, guys. We got you guys ready to go here. We're going to do what we always do. Going to hear my projections, some of the industry standard ones out there via Stokastic. We're also going to hop to the world of prop betting, see what unabated things are your best NBA bets for today, December 30th. We're going to see also what the top sim lineups are. By the end of this video, you know the must plays for today's NBA slate. So let's get into it. Day before New Year's. Appreciate the chats. I don't know. Merry Christmas. Are you doing this genuinely? But Merry Christmas, I guess. Old Nabe does some weird bits. And I feel like bringing up Christmas a week later seems like one of them. May Squirt Squad football success this weekend continue. That's an awkward sentence, but I appreciate Robert Griffin III being here. Appreciate all you guys being here. And let's talk about the slate. So Kyrie Irving out. That's going to be the big change. You also have a lot of questionable guys / doubtful guys for the Hornets. That opens up some of your key plays. Miles Bridges, man, I don't put lightly on the thumbnail because I don't love to promote domestic abusers on thumbnails next to my smiling idiot face. That said, key player on the slate today. No LaMelo Ball expected. No Brandon Miller expected. As a result, Miles Bridges is getting a ton of minutes and a pretty good 1.28 fantasy points per minute in court time without those guys. Going to be a key play on the slate. But let's look at the top projected plays overall. Who am I going to be having the most in my lineups? Number one, Nikola Jokic. I have him at 68.1 fantasy points today. Stokastic has him at 64.7. Right now, looks like one of the best plays in the slate, getting him 35% of the sim, with the value being opened up in particular by the Kyrie Irving stuff. Him being out, you're going to get some Mavs for a lot cheaper. You're going to end up liking Nikola Jokic probably more on the slate. Matchup that he has today going against Utah, just a team that's not going to be able to handle him. Still a total that indicates competitive game. Still a total as well. It's pretty high for Denver on their side. Denver in this game against Utah, getting 123 implied points. Utah 115.5. So again, not the biggest spread favoring Denver, though they're on the road, but a very high team total for them. So Jokic looks like one of the best plays overall, as he pretty much always is. Karl-Anthony Towns, a guy that I'm usually a little bit higher than the industry on. That's the case once again here, but not quite as much as usual. 51.7 fantasy points for me today, compared to 51.3 for Stokastic. Basically the same amount of sim ownership, 10.7% for me, compared to 10.4% for Stokastic. So Towns a good play today, but fractionally as good as Nikola Jokic looks. Let's see. We got controversial put Bridges on the thumbnail with huge pussy Joel Embiid on the slate. I mean, you can't put Joel Embiid on the thumbnail because you know if he's going to play. Bridges, for whatever his many flaws may be, we know he's going to play, and we know he's going to be violent while doing so. Joel Embiid, 49.9 fantasy points compared to 50.9 for Stokastic, getting him 13% in my top 150 lineups compared to the field's 14% expected ownership today. Domantas Sabonis, top projected guy overall, 11% for the field, only 3% for me. Not a bad projection for him, but I'd rather have Jokic, rather have Towns. Would rather have Embiid, but barely, I think, is really how I feel about that, even though I am getting a 4% more ownership in my top 150 lineups for Embiid than Sabonis. James Harden, $9,100 salary for him. Got him at 48.2 fantasy points, 47.3 for Stokastic. Been a good player this year. The 9K-ish range looks pretty good on him overall, though, again, would probably prefer the other 9K guys we've talked about already. De'Aaron Fox, 5% for the field, 5% for me, but a little bit lower, 5%. Miles Bridges, 67% for me compared to the field's 50. I'm at 45.2 fantasy points, again, accounting for that being just shy of 1.3 fantasy points per minute this year with LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller off the court. So Bridges, to me, a key play today. Matchup against Chicago, too, is always one of the better matchups you want to go to. That said, Chicago usually have pretty high totals for both sides here. Only a 226 point total combined in this game, 110.5 for Charlotte. So competitive game, but not quite as much scoring expected as you're normally getting in games versus the Bulls. One of those defenses that generally, really teams overall, the team environment, the pace, the lack of defense means a lot of higher totals usually for Chicago games, for Washington games, for Atlanta games, some of the big three there normally. Besides that, you can see other guys on the list. Spencer Dinwiddie, we're going to see on this next screen when we sort by value. Of course, we're going to go game by game too, but I do like to capture the top projected players first, and then the top value plays give you a read on my projections. And of course, sometimes we unearth plays like Jaime Jaquez last week that the industry is a little bit light on. People in chat even directly trying to fade me on, and then they end up going for 10x the value. So who will that be today? Hopefully Spencer Dinwiddie. So again, the data wasn't updated here to reflect Kyrie Irving being out before I started the show, so I had to just kind of move the minutes around myself. which I can do. I prefer not to if I don't have to, but I made it work well enough here. As a result, the projection is much higher now for Dinwiddie. I had him at a 37.9 projection. Stokastic previously had him at 26. Basically was going to be 10% owned before at a reasonable salary and him playing starter level minutes anyway with Kyrie Irving playing. With Kyrie Irving off the court, Dinwiddie becomes a much better version of what he is lately. Dinwiddie averaging 1.12 fantasy points per minute this year, about 350 possessions without Kyrie, without Luka Doncic on the court. A 21% usage, 32% assist rate. Basically, Dinwiddie going back to the old Brooklyn version, the version we actually liked of Dinwiddie, and games where he actually can play point guard and get a lot of opportunity for himself. Quentin Grimes averaging just shy of 1 fantasy point per minute in court time without Kyrie and Luka. Does play a little bit better with Kyrie on the court, but Luka off. That said, Quentin Grimes looks okay. Not nearly as good of a value as Dinwiddie is, but still he is over here somewhere. 4% of my lineups for Grimes. So yeah, Quentin Grimes day, not so much. Definitely more of a Dinwiddie day at 5,200. Grimes, okay. Dinwiddie priority. But Grimes too, actually, I should probably get a minutes uptick. So I don't think I gave him enough of a boost there. Gave a boost to some other random Mavs. Grimes' minutes were not crazy high the last time that Luka and Kyrie was out. So again, I'll see what Stokastic has. I'll check if anybody else has a data membership to Stokastic. Let me know if they project things or they update their projections rather. It looks like they just did it. Okay, so fuck me. You know what? Bear with me, guys. It'll be worth it. Let me put in the more accurate minutes here because I do want to know if we're going to have to give a big boost to Grimes or not. Because that could be something where I underprojected him and I want to be as accurate as possible here. All right, let me pull all that in. All right, I'm going to have to rerun my sim, but let me just plug this data in from over here now with Stokastic's minutes at the very least. And I can give a better take on that part. And I'll try to rerun my sim as well. Let's see that they update everything. Looks like they updated ownership too. So, all right, let me pull this shit in too. Bear with me, guys. Again, this is what happens, unfortunately, when the injury stuff breaks and it's a major one and it's not done right before the show. I tried to wait as long as humanly possible to get all this stuff in, but unfortunately did not work out the way that I would have liked. All right, so that's now in as well. All right, so we'll get updated ownership in a moment here. Let me just grab all this shit again. Re-upload here. All right. Let's resort this too, just to make sure. All right, there we go. Everything's updated. Okay, so Dinwiddie, 35-point projection now from Stokastic, compared to 37.8 for me. They have at 60.4% ownership. I have an 84. So there we go. That's accurate. Okay, they're separated by that much on DraftKings as well. So there you go. Exact same situation. As we talked about, basically FanDuel and DraftKings, mostly the same thing, except when FanDuel prices rather. Scotty Barnes at 3,500 for no reason. That's the one time it'd be different mostly between DraftKings and FanDuel. Anyway, Dinwiddie now top value overall confirmed. Lot of ownership overall. I got him even more than that in the semi round before the show. Mark Williams, other one's a big stand for me. So Mark Williams being projected for 24 minutes by Stokastic. He actually has gotten up to 26 minutes lately. Basically what happens, and this is an observation I had, I think before Friday's slate, basically every 2 games they increase his minutes, it seems. He didn't play as many minutes last game, I think because of foul trouble. But basically played 26 minutes 2 games ago. He could theoretically go up another 2 or so minutes and be at like 28 minutes today. So I think this minutes projection is a little bit light. He's also been a beast on the year, averaging like 1.45 fantasy points per minute. So Mark Williams to me a key part of tonight's slate as well at 5,300. Playing Chicago, get a soft team overall that we want to attack a lot. Mark Williams, the field will be on him. They'll be playing him 27%. I got more than that at 65. Vasilij Micic, another player is going to benefit quite a bit from having no LaMelo out there, no Brandon Miller. Micic on the year with those 2 guys off the court, averaging 0.87 fantasy points a minute with a 41% assist rate, a 24% usage. The one risk point for him is that KJ Simpson's back in the lineup. So, or not back in the lineup. He's available to play after being in the G League the last few times. Micic has lost minutes to KJ Simpson before in court time where like Micic was the chalk. Micic again be chalk today at 51 minutes. He's been playing a lot of run, but Simpson does produce fairly well per minute and can take minutes away. So a little bit of risk on Micic, so 4,600, kind of hard to care about it too much. Miles Bridges, we talked about, top value for him. Got him at 67% of my lineup. Cleared to the field's 50. Walker Kessler, 23% compared to 21 for the field. Not really huge stands here, but those are the top values. Dinwiddie, Mark Williams, Micic, Miles Bridges. Micic and Mark Williams, the least stable ones, I suppose, or the less stable ones. Dinwiddie and Bridges just kind of locked into minutes, locked into opportunity. If they fail, it would be kind of unexpected. Williams and Micic at least could lose minutes, could get weird run out like that. So that's how I'd view that for right now. Any word in Embiid? He's questionable. I think the Vegas total would make you think he doesn't play, but who knows? And what's up, guys? Trying to carry the NBA luck from the weekend. I'm sure the Sharks are back to eat my own. There's always sharks in the water. That's the main thing to know with any DFS. Betting, less so. Prop betting, at least you're just going against the house. But even then, you got to be conscious of your lines and all that shit. Thoughts on Maxey? We'll see when we get to Dallas. I don't have any off the top of my head. Chicago, 115.5 implied points. Charlotte, 110.5. I'm not going to rerun my sim right now. I think we'll just go with the data we have because I was close enough based on what I saw from Stokastic stuff so far. For Chicago here, nobody projected for over 10% ownership. I didn't get anybody above 5. Certainly a spot against Charlotte, soft matchup. Bit of a pace down with Charlotte playing slow at a 97.4 pace over the last few minutes overall. If no Embiid and no Drummond. Drummond's questionable too. But yeah, for Chicago right now, 115.5 implied points, decent total. Charlotte team that's obviously very beatable. Honestly, Chicago, I would expect the total to be a little bit higher given the matchup. But honestly, competitive game. So if you wanted to go one of the Chicago guys, you can, given the fact that you are going to go pretty heavy on Charlotte. If you're playing Charlotte guys heavy, you're expected to be a competitive game. So one of, I would say, Levine, ideally, Patrick Williams being a cheaper play, 4,200. Kobe White, the usual guys here. But really, I would say in terms of projection, Levine's close to being a 5x value. Giddey's close. Williams is over a 5x value. One of those guys hitting in concert with the Charlotte guys on the other side. Kind of a logical way to play things for DFS normally in a game that could go sideways if the Charlotte value doesn't work out. But the Charlotte value, everybody's going to be playing it to work out. 50% ownership now for Bridges, 51% for Micic, 27% for Mark Williams, 21% for Tajon Salon as well. I'm getting all these guys more than the field. Micic, 57%. Mark Williams, talked about him. Again, just been producing really well overall. It doesn't change with LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller off the court either. He looks basically the same, averaging 1.44 fantasy points a minute on the year. I'm at 1.59 today, given the matchup with Chicago that does give a boost to a lot of those key stats. Miles Bridges, a lot of court time for him, projected for 34.2 minutes. He's been playing again about a 1.28 fantasy point per minute pace. Today I'm at 1.32. Bridges, I think I would say a must-have. If I were putting in a 20 max, I would probably have Bridges in 80 to 90% of my lineups, I think. Obviously, Sim here, 67% in the top 150. Bridges, I think a core play. Dinwiddie, a core play. Micic and Williams, I think, would be core plays for me. But for you guys out there, if you want to have a little bit less risk in your lineup, having less of those guys would be the most logical thing to do because I think they come with a little bit more minutes and stability. But really, these guys all looking okay here for Charlotte. You can play wherever you want. There's just so much left behind by LaMelo and Brandon Miller not being in the lineup. And, is it Cody? Caleb Martin, whatever one's on Charlotte still. Him not playing too. It's just extra minutes to go around as well from the guy that does sometimes funnel some usage to himself when you get LaMelo out. So really, Charlotte, just good matchup against Chicago. Obviously, good ownership here, but I think they're worth it all. And I would probably put Bridges in every lineup if you had to choose, like no Bridges or Bridges everywhere. I'd probably go Bridges everywhere. Mark Williams, I'd co-sign for too, unless better center value opens up, which I don't see happening. New York, 120.8 implied points. Washington, 108.3 implied points. Not a big priority spot, though I did hear my pal Josh Engelman, who I'll be doing the deeper dive with on Stokastic right after this show, talked this morning about how, based on his Vegas total modeling, he thinks that Jalen Brunson might be out in the game. Still a 12-point total on the road favoring the Knicks. I don't know that says Brunson, who's questionable right now, not playing. Towns should have pretty big upside. That said, Jokic does look better overall. Towns under a 10K salary, get a nice projection on him. Got an 11% in the sim compared to the field's 12. If Jokic weren't on a slate, I'd have Towns a lot more, I think, but still a very good play, especially given the matchup. Brunson, if he goes, an okay play. The Q tag probably keeps the ownership down a little bit. Never love him when Towns is in, and feel like Towns takes a lot of the work away that Brunson's had in the past, and that previous projections will kind of incorporate for Brunson. This year, though, a little bit down for Brunson. So he's an okay play, though. And I think, again, a little bit less ownership because of the injury. You're playing Washington. Anybody here is going to look good. Josh Hart, okay play, 9% for the field. I got a little bit less than that. Mikal Bridges, rather. Much prefer Miles today, 5% Mikal, compared to the field, 10%. Bridges, despite that one outlier game, again, the Christmas Day game, he's still not good on the year. 0.77 fantasy points per minute. The shooting's looking better, but the usage is not that high. Like Towns and Brunson, kind of your main guys here, unless the other guys get cheap. But these price tags are reasonable. All of them under 7K now for the Knicks. You're playing Washington. If you want those guys, you can get them. Washington, really nothing here, so we could just save time. Nobody above 3% for the field. I got nobody above 1.5%. Jordan Poole I think is questionable still. If he were to not go, would open things up a little bit, but you're getting Kyle Kuzma back in. These guys have been priced for life without Kyle Kuzma. Kuzma himself's come down a little bit, but not going to play enough minutes. So Washington is kind of a crowded, shitty team, which is not really where you want to be. Good day to play cash games. I mean, there's definitely very obvious owned plays here to go to, which is kind of the goal of cash. So you're probably right about that. NBA cash, though, I mean, I don't play cash games of any type, but NBA is okay. I used to play NBA back in the day when I was really like bankroll conscious, and like I'd play X amount of cash games to try to make up for playing GPP, like 25% of my bankroll for the given day. There's ways to do it. I just like cash, like the projection stuff is so sharp now. I'd really be terrified to go too heavily into cash, but follow your hearts. Clippers 111.5. If you're going to play one, though, play the single entry, like big field ones, I think would be my role with them. Not head-to-heads against randos. Clippers 111.5 implied points. New Orleans 107 implied points. Not high ownership here, but getting Chris Dunn 18% compared to the field's 17. Norman Powell 7% compared to the field's 10. Get Powell a little bit more than the field these days. Been playing well enough this year that me waiting the season higher is probably giving me more Powell on most slates. And it really hasn't let me down too much. Shooting guard, small forward, decent price tags for him. James Harden, 11% compared to the field's 8.4. Having the Dallas situation change, I think, moved that around a lot for me. The sim I ran before the show was getting more Harden before that, now a lot less. Zubac going against New Orleans. New Orleans sucks. Can probably see Zubac clean up on rebounds. That said, he's 7,600, playing 33 minutes. Okay play. I have him better projected than Stokastic by about 3 points. I'm still only getting him 6% on my top 150 lineups. Kevin Porter, semi-value, okay. There's better value on the slate now. That's basically that. New Orleans, really think that you should get better production out of DeJounte Murray at some point. That said, he's still shooting 46% true shooting. I'm getting him 5% in the sim today. But again, good usage, good assist rate. DeJounte Murray, really one of the reasons that the Pelicans are not good right now is DeJounte Murray just shooting them out of the games early on over and over again. Still think he's a little bit mispriced, but he's got a ceiling at 8,500. Just the projection itself kind of looks where it is. Appreciate this chat from A-Rich Exclusive. Hey, a man after my heart with that username. You demand Spags. Appreciate all you do, brother. Thank you guys again. I assume we might have already gotten there, but trying to get to 500 subs. If we got past it, we're trying to get to 1,000 subs right now. So we hit our goal before the new year, which I appreciate. But guys, show some love. If you get value out of this, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe. I was looking at some of the metrics here. It's only been 2 months, but I try to kind of keep an eye on the numbers. I think about right now, 58% of people that watch aren't subscribed. And look, just show some love, hit the like button, subscribe to all that stuff. It goes a long way for me here. I'm just one guy showing you my work, showing you data from some of the type sites, including Stokastic and Unabated. So please help a brother out. Give a little engagements here. It goes a long way for your local mom and pop creator, which is me. I'm pop, hopefully. And maybe some mom sometimes. When I'm in a bitchy, PMSy mood, then I'm mom. DeJounte Murray, anyway, 5% for him, fields at 4. Trey Murphy, reasonable price tag for him at under 7K, playing 35 minutes a game. I've liked him more than field a little bit this year. Same case today, 13% compared to the field's 10. And he works well with shooting guard, small forward eligibility. Same thing as Norman Powell. That's basically it for the Pelicans. Not hard to make a case for those guys playing the Clippers, pace down spot. Not a lot to love. Denver, 123 implied points. Utah, 115.5. Big stand on Jokic here with all the value you have on the slate. His ownership's probably going to come up a little bit more than what I have in here right now. That said, 21% ownership for the field. 35% feels pretty good for me. Almost 36. Yeah, I like Jokic a lot. I don't really know what to say about it. Utah's a soft matchup. You got Kessler in there who's really not going to be equipped to handle Jokic at all. Jokic producing at a crazy rate, 1.7 fantasy points per minute. I'd have him averaging 1.9 a day, which feels pretty aggressive, but he does get a boost with Aaron Gordon out as well. Jamal Murray gets a boost with Aaron Gordon out, but not enough for me to play him. The field will be at 29%. I'm at 9.3%. Minutes have been up for him. He's playing about like 40 minutes in some of the games lately. They have him at 37.5 minute projection here. Honestly, you can make the case to go to Murray more than I am, but 30% for him feels like a lot at 7,700. Michael Porter Jr., okay play, 7% for the field, 11% for me. Don't really feel anything too nuanced besides that. He does produce a little bit worse than you would think with Aaron Gordon off, kind of loses some usage, loses some rebounding, I think maybe because of having Westbrook out there. Westbrook, an okay DFS play, 16% for the field. I'm getting him at 8%. Very long debate on the NBA strategy show with my pal Josh Engelman. People who don't get that Westbrook is not really good at real life basketball at this point. Fantasy wise, though, still a 1.12 fantasy point per minute producer on the year. I'm at 1.17 if we're counting the matchup and the guys not available for Denver today. And that's it. A little bit of Julian Strother, a little bit of Christian Brown. Not really big stands there. Both 5% or less. Utah on their side, Keontae George questionable, though I think going to be trending towards going now. As a result, going to get less chalk here than it looked like earlier in the day, where Jordan Clarkson looked like he was going to be a top play in the slate. That said, he's 11% of the Fields lineups. I got him at 20%. You basically don't have John Collins out there, who's been a pretty good producer, so everybody looks a little bit better. They're not fully priced to not have John Collins in, which kind of a crazy thing to say, but he's been rebounding so well, getting good usage on the year. Him not being actually matters a good amount for Utah. Nice total as well, 115.5 implied points. Denver's defense not very good. So Utah expected to be in this game. Lowry Markkanen, fifth of the field will be on him. I got him in 23% of my lineups. Walker Kessler, about a fifth of the field will be on him. I got him in 23% of my lineups as well. Just the more competitive expected total here, I think, for Utah than you would think. So Utah guys in play, no issue with him. And now's the big one. Josh was really triggered this morning. He wasn't having, I'm going to bring it up when we do the deeper dive. I know. So tune into that on Stokastic at 5. But yeah, really, it was funny. Like the guy, I think he just can't handle it. And I get it too. Like when people just want to be deliberately not with what's a smart approach to something, it can be frustrating. And especially when they kind of plug their ears and just repeat the same thing over and over again. And I think that's a particular sticking point that Josh and I have. The main thing for me, though, is I would just be like, all right, enough, you're an idiot. I would stop at some point. But I think he really wanted to convert them and get his point across, and I admire him for it. Though that's, when you're the host, your point is just that's it. I'm right, you're wrong, I think, and that's hopefully you move on from that, because those were not good debates on their side. He's got a lot of wins, though. He does have a lot of wins. PJ Washington. So Dallas, key game here, key team here. Obviously, no Kyrie Irving. If you missed that part, you got ruled out about 20 minutes before the show. So that's why the data scramble had to go on to the beginning here. But PJ Washington, 12% for me compared to 6% for the Fields ownership. Looks like a better play for me, 39.2 projection compared to 35. That's at his price tag, close enough to Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges is a much better play. But obviously, both are valid plays. Washington, I think, not as big of a boost overall as you would think for some of the other guys on Dallas. Washington averaging 0.97 fantasy points per minute. Without Kyrie, without Luka, basically he can't create his own shot. Kind of needs somebody else to do it for him a little bit. So I think that at this point, I think PJ Washington, people like him a lot as a play when Luka's out. I think he's better when Kyrie is in as well, because you just kind of have a more normal offense here. It's probably just going to be a little bit worse with having no real point guard besides Dinwiddie in. Jaden Hardy's okay, but he's just not, obviously not the same tier of distributor. Klay Thompson, another guy whose rates go down a little bit, actually playing more minutes lately, played, I think 34 minutes over the weekend. That said, for Klay, his rates come down. I try not to haircut him too much, but, they actually kept his rates where they are for that reason, because he would have been an even worse play. But on the year, only averaging 21% usage. He really can't get his own shot, so he's going to need Dinwiddie to set him up. He's going to need Jaden Hardy to set him up. Those guys aren't really going to do that well, and they're going to look for their own shots a little. I mean, no more than Kyrie or Luka would, but it's going to be a little bit of a different setup with it, where like those guys kind of soak up usage to get shitty shots up, whereas Kyrie and Luka theoretically being efficient with their usage. So for Klay, I don't love him. Feels to be playing him a third. I'll be at half that, and I'm pretty happy with it. We'll see. I'm substantially lower than Stokastic too by about 2 fantasy points and change. Derek Lively, questionable right now. If he were out and he hasn't been ruled out yet, Gafford's going to look a lot better. Gafford was late breaking value the last video we did on Friday. Ended up being a pretty solid play. Didn't go nuts though. But Gafford would look like a lot better play because he'd be getting about 28 minutes or so. That'd be the projection if you get Lively out. So that's a key one to watch. Dinwiddie, we talked about 60% ownership expected. I got him at 84%. I also am at 37.8 fantasy points compared to Stokastic's 35. He's been a great producer when both key point guards are out. 1.1 fantasy points per minute for Dinwiddie in that court time. So Dinwiddie, player that has been shitty for long enough that I think he should be maybe treated differently if you have been filing him away like that. He just plays a different role when there isn't really any real point guards out there, kind of like a Shake Milton has lately. So Dinwiddie, I think one of the best plays in the slate. Quentin Grimes, getting less of here as I expected. And it seems like Stokastic does not disagree here. Only a 29.7 minute projection for him doesn't get you high enough. I'd have him at 29.8 fantasy points compared to 27.4 for Stokastic. Only got him at 4% in my sim. I had roughly that same minutes outlook. So Grimes, I think if you got to 20%, I wouldn't be mad at it, but he's not a smash play like he has been in previous times. Just does play a little bit better when you have Kyrie on the court as well. And the minutes expectation doesn't go up that much higher. He's already projected to play like 28 anyway. So He gained about a minute and change from this change of not having Kyrie in. Kleber going to get some run, I guess. He started last game, but that was one where they didn't have Derek Lively, so not sure what the deal's with him, but 20 minutes of projection right now from Stokastic. Main play to me here going to be Dinwiddie by a wide margin. Klay Thompson, you want to get there, you can. Everything else, I don't think matters. I think Dinwiddie is really the only part that matters, which is kind of crazy, given how much is left behind by having no Kyrie and no Luke out there. Sacramento on their side, new coaching staff, seemingly giving more opportunity to Fox maybe, but weren't any really big minutes changes besides Alex Len getting back in the rotation. As a result, nobody looks that great here. Sabonis, 13% for the field. I'm getting him 3%. Fox, 7% for the field. I'm getting him 5%. If you were to take a shot on anybody here, I probably would take the shot on Fox. A good projection on him. Sabonis was ill over the weekend, so that could be part of him underperforming. But Fox really dominated the ball as much as he has in games, even when Sabonis was out. Was basically how he played over the weekend with this new Doug Christie regime. So maybe Fox gets a bit of a tick upwards, but honestly, he's been doing great anyway. In Sacramento, really not the most well-priced team. Keegan Murray losing some work now with Alex Len back in the rotation. You have Lyles healthy. Doesn't really seem like that much else has changed for Sacramento despite the coaching change. How many guys did you roster from the early games in order to maximize late swap opportunities? I mean, I don't really care at this point too much. Philadelphia matters a little bit. I mean, you can weight guys more, but frankly, the Dallas part opening up is already giving me enough to kind of build teams. I would just play more Dallas guys because all the games are at 10 o'clock. So just load up on Mavs. But Dallas has opened up enough value here where the main thing you're waiting for is Philly. And if you get Drummond and Embiid out, it's going to open up Yabusele. But if you have enough Dallas guys, you could probably swap around that anyway. So that's probably how I would do it, and I'll get that naturally, so it's not really a concern point for me. Philadelphia, 114.3 implied points here, and it is a slate too, by the way, in case you're used to the DraftKings slate where they cut things off. Every game's on the slate tonight, including 3 10 o'clock games. There's actually 4 games starting, actually, no, it's staggered. 2 at 7, 1 at 8, 1 at 9, 3 at 10. So if you are swapping around tonight, if we don't get news on Embiid in particular, Embiid and Drummond, I guess, together, that's going to be one that it's going to drag out the entire night. So kind of annoying, but anyway, Philadelphia here right now, not a ton of ownership. Embiid, 13%, compared to the field's 15, Maxey, 5% compared to the field's 11, Paul George, 3% compared to the field's 4, Caleb Martin, 6% compared to the field's 5. So not Cody, Caleb here. Really nothing a priority here. Again, if you get Embiid out, it'll change the equation a good amount. If you get Drummond in and Embiid out, that's going to matter. I think the total looks okay for Embiid being in. So I kind of expect Embiid to play. But I know some people out there, I think Josh might expect Embiid to be out. Portland on their side, nothing looks that good here. No priority plays. A lot of Q tags for Portland's side. They still have a deep enough rotation, but I think you have Banton, Robert Williams. There's a few other ones. Portland is just one of those teams I feel like is fucking does dumb shit every day, and I don't really like paying attention to it. Notes those two. Tamani Camara also questionable. Jeremy Grant also questionable, which would open up Denny Avdia in a pretty big way, or at least historically has. Portland might matter more than the Philadelphia side at this point. I think Embiid plays based on the total. Your mileage may vary with that. Portland, though, still a deep enough rotation, but if you got like 3 or 4 guys out, it's a lot of minutes potentially open on the wing. And I think in particular, Jeremy Grant, him being out would matter a lot for just opening up minutes and opportunity for Avdia in particular. Anyway, I hate the fucking staggered slates like this too. I'd be okay with today being just like a 4-game slate and let's leave out the 10 o'clock games, but then we wouldn't have Dallas. So that's the trade-off. Cleveland, 117 implied points. I feel like I just want to know what I know before the slate starts. And then it's cool. Then just lock it and nobody can swap anything. That'd be the most fun. Cleveland, 117 implied points. Golden State, 113. For Cleveland, appropriately priced team here. Nobody out. You're getting Strus still getting his minutes up as much as they can come up at this point. Not a lot to love here. Mobley, okay price tag on him, but now we have better value opening up, so not really getting him as much. 9% compared to the Fields, also 9%. Mitchell, 7% compared to the Fields, slightly less, 7%. Garland, 5% compared to the Fields, 4%. Those are the kind of stands for Cleveland here. Always a good team. Theoretically, a fun game on paper, competitive game. Not the highest total, but not too bad for Cleveland side with 117 implied points. Golden State, you want to take your shots on Steph Curry, you can. Certainly a tough defensive matchup for him. Not that he can't beat it, but Steph Curry to 9K price tag, under 2% ownership. It's really all I probably have to tell you. Just a good tournament play, even though it doesn't project terribly well today. Draymond Green, same thing, though he'll be played by 6% of the field. I got him at 5. Kuminga feels like he's getting a lot of minutes here with these guys back in. Obviously crushed with no Draymond Green, no Steph Curry the other day. That was one of the plays I was trying to push you guys onto. Put up 60 fantasy points too, which is kind of nuts. That said, that game, don't expect it to happen here. Having Steph back in, he just won't get up 30% usage that he did in that spot. And then he does whenever Curry and Green are off the court. Wiggins, okay price tag at small forward, power forward. That's really the only reason to get him. I'm at 29.5 fantasy points compared to 28.6 for Stokastic. As a result, I'm getting him 29% of my lives compared to 22% for the field. Never a big Wiggins guy, but okay value here. He's one of those guys, though, where I guess because I'll naturally have Wiggins and Kuminga a little bit more. These would be the swaps to make for Portland guys if they're out, to make to Yabusele. If you got both Drummond and Embiid out. And I guess, or if you got Embiid out and you get Drummond, same kind of thing. I think you'll naturally get enough ownership here that you don't have to worry about swapping, especially with the Dallas ownership. But if you get Kuminga and Wiggins, those are probably two that are going to matter the most. And there we go. That's all that stuff. Let's go to Unabated next. Let me load this shit up. And of course, we also got to look at this very important video to tell you. It's like taking a plane. You watch a plane, you go, I have to see the seatbelt thing. I don't pay attention, maybe. Well, try to pay attention to this and learn about the world of Unabated and their conditional NBA projections. I think it's better with me talking over it. I was trying to give it a chance just to see how it would go on its own. I feel like the drums, it's just like it's too serious for the show, I think, if I don't talk over it. Anyway, we got news. You're going to get the important thing coming up here. The important thing is about to flash on the screen in one moment. Oh, that's the graphs. You got graphs. How could you be a person that takes your money seriously if you don't look at graphs? It's a question you have to ask yourself. Community as well. Expert game day live streams. What more do you need in your life? Besides a chat, you can go, hey, walk me through this. What do you need to be walked through on? It's so simple. Anyway, promo code SPLASH at Unabated. Check it out. What you're seeing on the screen, of course, Unabated tool. Going to simulate some points lines here based on Unabated's conditional NBA projections made by one of the top projection teams in the industry, and also a product that's used by some of the highest dollar bettors in the industry. They use Unabated's NBA projections to find differentials between markets, chase some things. For you guys out there, you should know that, like, if you spend your money on Unabated's data, you're in good hands because there's people fucking spending a lot more money than you. That's always something that matters, frankly, with any of these premium products. Knowing they have like real gambling sharp people on it, I think is always a good cosign. All right. Better than Viagra. Thank you. I appreciate it. I didn't want to talk over it today. I need a small holiday respite, but the NBA, definitely not doing a video on New Year's Day, but tomorrow we'll be doing a New Year's Eve one. So stay tuned. I will have to get beer for that. I will have to get here, but I'll put on I have a New Year's hat here. I don't know why I have a tiny New Year's hat, but I've had it here for a while and I've had it since Splash Play. Pete and I did it for a bit and I'll break it out tomorrow here on stream. If you want to see me, a large man and a hat that's far too small for him. We got the best lines right now. We're not marking anybody in. Of course, you can see the prominent Q tags we have going. Brunson, Embiid, Jeremy Grant, Lively, Poole, Sarr. So we won't get those markets right now. We will get to John Salon, 21% EV on over 8.5 points. He's projected for 10.5 by Unabated today. If you take that line at FanDuel Sportsbook, minus 108 odds, you're getting 21% EV. Playable on PrizePicks and Underdog as well. Over 8.5 is the line there. And playable on DK Sportsbook, over 8.5 points. Minus 115 odds gets you 17.5% EV for Tajon Salon's over on points. Buddy Hield over 7.5 points. That one looks good on PrizePicks and Underdog right now. 15.8% EV. Also playable on DK Sportsbook, 10.5% EV for Buddy Hield over 8.5 points at plus 105. Over 7.5 on FanDuel, also playable. Minus 128 odds there with a 11.7% EV for Buddy Hield's over on points. Over 7.5 on the pick'em sites. Over 8.5 on DK at plus money. Large. I feel like the Turd Ferguson bit though is like it's funny in a man in a bigger hat. So I'm fucking it up. I'm doing it backwards. Kevin Herter, 14.8% EV on over 7.5 points for him. That one's available on Underdog. Over 8 points of playable on PrizePicks as well. Anything over an 8% sim EV, good to go. Technically 5% is also doable, but I feel better just say 8% to give you guys a little more of a buffer. Not bettable on DK Sportsbook, or probably not one you want to hit. But it does look like Underdog and PrizePicks good for Kevin Huerter over 7.5 points or over 8 points, whichever you can get. Jonathan Kuminga under 18.5 points, minus 110 odds on DK Sportsbook will get you 13.3% EV. You can also get 9.7% EV on PrizePicks and Underdog. It's under 18.5 points on there. And is it playable on FanDuel? Bettable on FanDuel as well, under 18.5 points at minus 115. Gets you 11% EV for Jonathan Kuminga, under 18.5 points. Georges Niang, under 7.5 points, minus 115 odds on DK Sportsbook. Gets you 11.6% EV. You don't want it on your pick'em sites, and you don't want it on FanDuel. A DK exclusive, 11.6% EV on under 7.5 points for Georges Niang. Dean Wade under 5.5 points, get plus 114 odds. That gets you 10.6% EV. That one is on DK Sportsbook right now, and you don't want it on FanDuel, and you can't get it on your pick'em site. So Dean Wade under 5.5 points, plus 114 odds. Josh Green over 9.5 points, minus 102 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook, gets you 8.8% EV. No good on the pick'em sites, and no good on DK either. So only FanDuel for Josh Green over 9.5 points. Rebounds coming up next. Let's see what we got going here. Of course, taking out all the conditional guys, all the Q-tag guys, so we won't get them in the mix, but we'll have enough bets anyway. Let's make sure it's pulling in all the markets. All right. Nick Batum under 3.5 rebounds, 17.6% EV on PrizePicks. That one is not available on Underdog, DK, or FanDuel. A PrizePicks exclusive. Nick Batum under 3.5 rebounds, 17.6% EV right now. John Salon again over 4.5 rebounds. Projected for 5.6 today. You get 16.1% EV if you take over 4.5 rebounds for John Salon on Underdog. That one not available on DK. Does not look available on FanDuel either. Josh Giddey under 7 rebounds for him, 12.9% EV. That's available on PrizePicks right now. Not on Underdog, not on FanDuel, not on DK. Take Josh Giddey on PrizePicks under 7 rebounds for him, 12.9% EV. Georges Niang, 12.8% EV on under 3.5 rebounds. That's minus 135 odds on DK Sportsbook. Looks like it's not available on the pick'em sites, and you don't want it on FanDuel. So Georges Niang under 3.5 rebounds, DK Sportsbook only, minus 135 odds. Kevin Huerter under 3.5 rebounds, minus 120 on DK Sportsbook. Gets you 12.6% EV. Not available on the pick'em sites and not on FanDuel. So take it on DK. Kevin Huerter under 3.5 rebounds at minus 120. Herb Jones over 4.5 rebounds, plus 136 odds. Always going to get plus money on these bets if you can get it. 11.9% EV for over 4.5 rebounds on FanDuel. Looks bettable as well on DK, where it's over 3.5 rebounds at minus 140. Gets you 10% EV for Herb Jones. And last but not least, Ivica Zubac over 12.5 rebounds. Again, playing a shitty team, going to definitely crack some rebounds. Projected for 13.7, a pretty high rebound projection. But 11.8% EV for Ivica Zubac over 12.5 rebounds. That's minus 105 odds on DK Sportsbook. And you can play it on FanDuel as well. 8.4% EV for over 12.5 rebounds at minus 112 odds. We'll look at assists coming up next, then PRAs, get the primary markets. Of course, more markets available for you, more sportsbooks available. I'm only showing the pick'em sites and the two biggest ones, DK and FanDuel. You have your BetMGMs, your Bet365s, all your other big ones that you have. Your Hard Rock if you're in Florida. That's all available on Unabated if you get it for yourself. Same tool, same process. Just got to hit that play button. Let it go. Then it'll sim until your heart's content. All right. We've got all these markets in now. Let's resort. All right, Seth Curry, assist lines coming up. Under 1.5 assists for Seth Curry, 21% EV on Underdog and PrizePicks. Looks like it's not available on the sportsbook, but Seth Curry under 1.5 assists looks good on your pick'em sites with 21% EV on there. DeJounte Murray over 7.5 assists, minus 105 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. That gets you 14.6% EV. You don't want it anywhere else for DeJounte Murray over 7.5 assists. Patrick Williams over 1.5 assists, looking good on PrizePicks, 14.5% EV on there. It's not available in the sportsbook, so you can't get it there, but you can get Patrick Williams over 1.5, get 14.5% EV on his over 1.5 assist line. Draymond Green over 5.5 assists, plus 102 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook looks best. It gets you 13.8% EV. Looks like it's still okay over 5.5 at minus 110 on DraftKings Sportsbook, but the FanDuel one at plus money looks a lot better. Peyton Watson, under 1.5 assists, 13.4% EV. He's too busy giving minutes away to Russell Westbrook. He can't play. Under 1.5 assists for him. It's available on PrizePicks and Underdog, your pick'em sites. Nikola Vucevic, over 3.5 assists, plus 130 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. It's 12.2% EV. You also have 9.3% EV on DraftKings. You take over 3.5 assists at plus 124. But 2+ money bets for assists for Nikola Vucevic, over 3.5. And Kobe White here, last in our assist bets, 12.1% EV for over 3.5 assists at minus 135 odds on DK Sportsbook. And bettable on FanDuel as well, 9.8% EV for over 3.5 assists and minus 142. And last but not least, our precious PRAs. Combine them all together, stir them around. What do you got? That's PRAs. That's my ad for PRAs. If you're going to eat them, much like a baked good, just gobble them up. Nom, 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 nom. While they all load right before our eyes. All right. This should be everything in. Let's resort it. Jonathan Kuminga, under on his PRAs today. Again, really feel like the projections for him feel a little bit heavy. The ownership feels a little bit heavy for him when you're going to get Draymond and Steph back in. But anyway, under 28 PRAs for Kuminga looks good on your PrizePicks lines today. You're getting 14.8% EV on there. I don't want this Micic thing coming up. There we go. PrizePicks, 14.8% EV on under 28 PRAs for Kuminga. Underdog, about 9.7% EV on under 27.5 PRAs. DraftKings Sportsbook, under 27.5. You're good to go there at minus 115. FanDuel, under 26.5. Still playable at minus 102 odds. It's a lot of different Kuminga bets under one roof. But all of his unders on PRAs look good. Tajon Salon, over 15.5 PRAs, looks playable in Underdog and PrizePicks. It gets you 11.7% EV, not available in the traditional sports books. Kevin Huerter, 10.3% EV on over 12.5 PRAs for him. That's available in Underdog and PrizePicks, not on your regular sports books. Ivica Zubac, over 30.5 PRAs, looking good at minus 105 odds on DK Sportsbook. It gets you 8.9% EV. You can bet it on PrizePicks Pick'ems, not on Underdog. I wouldn't do that. But over 30 on PrizePicks at their usual Pick'em odds gets you 8.4% EV. Trace Jackson Davis, 8.4% EV on under 21.5 PRAs. That's for PrizePicks and Underdog. The Pick'em sites both have it at the same price, and it's not on FanDuel or DK. And last but not least, this one rounded up 8%, so we'll take it on your PrizePicks and Underdog. Buddy Hield over 11.5 PRAs, 7.8% EV. Let's call it 8. Call it even there. Over 11.5 PRAs for Buddy Hield on PrizePicks and Underdog. And getting squeezed too. No Pajemski, though, probably opens things up a little bit for Buddy Hield. And that's also probably why you're getting more of the other Warriors guys too. Pajemski leaves behind about 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes, depending on the day. All right, let's run a Stokastic sim now. The last stop on our journey here. Of course, I will be heading to Stokastic's YouTube channel as well at 5 o'clock doing the deeper dive with Josh Engelman. So stay tuned for that one and go check them out. Of course, Unabated, $30 off the promo code SPLASH. Their year-end deal's over, so get a monthly deal for $30 off. Click the link in the description or use promo code SPLASH if you go to unabated.com/NBA. And Stokastic, the tool I'm going to show you right now. Of course, we're going to build 10,000 lineups here, or 5,000 lineups for the NBA. And of course, sim them out 10,000 times, and we'll see what we get. But of course, Stokastic, another friend of the show, affiliate of the show. And of course, if you click the link down below, pay for any membership, whether it be for this stuff, the Sims tools, whether it be for the rest of their data, whether it be for their lesser tools like the lineup generator, kind of a simpler version of the Sims tool. It's all 15% off using that promo code SPLASH. So check it out. Click the link in the description. It'll have like a little menu page it takes you to. Lots of ways to make money there and bring money back into Splash Play, which is always the goal, really, at least for me. At least on this side of the screen, a really important part of the equation. And let's see what we get here. And if you want to play some of the pick'ems I just showed you, Underdog, $1,000 of bonus cash. Don't forget that. Promo code SPLASH. All right. Here we go. Zoom this out too because it's still zoomed in from this morning. Run contest sim. It's 25% to first today. Only a 50K up top term on DraftKings today because of the fact that you do have the NFL slate going on. Hopefully you'll get a nice one for tomorrow with no NFL, New Year's Eve, but maybe not because of it being New Year's Eve. Actually, knowing DraftKings, it'll probably be one of those like $18 slates tomorrow. They try to rip you off. And the tournament fills incredibly early because DraftKings is like, nobody wants to play on New Year's Eve. Meanwhile, everybody's playing on New Year's Eve that would normally play. That's my guess is how tomorrow will go. Let's talk about it at this time tomorrow. Was Spags right? That's my prediction. Let's see what we're going to get in this sim coming up. I hope the mic isn't picking up me chewing on ice. Tell me if it is, but I hope it's not. It just comes out of the water bottle. Nothing I can do. Congrats on my 500 subs. Oh, we did it. Hooray. Now 1,000. Now hit that one as well. But I appreciate it. Thank you guys for being a part of it. Again, it's a quick journey here to 500 subs, about 2 months in. But, this is the only place I promote it. I don't tweet anymore. I just post videos on YouTube. So it's glad to see the channel growing. Glad to see you guys here even on this holiday week. Again, we'll keep doing the work here every day on Splash Play. Thanks to our friends at Unabated and Stokastic. I'll be here Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. every day, just running through these things. And some days really well, some days... some days less so. Vasily Micic in your number one ROI lineup. We got Vasily Micic, Jamal Murray, Christian Brown, PJ Washington, Mark Williams, Spencer Dinwiddie, Jonathan Kuminga, Karl Anthony Towns. Number 2, it is you, weirdo. Thank you. Russell Westbrook at number 2. Westbrook again starting for Aaron Gordon. An okay DFS play, not one that I think is one of the best in the world, but he's going to be in some top lineups. Westbrook, Jamal Murray, Josh Hart, PJ Washington again, Mark Williams again, Spencer Dinwiddie, Jonathan Kuminga, Walker Kessler. Very balanced lineup so far. No Jokic coming in. Number 3, you have Kevin Porter Jr., Chris Dunn, Michael Porter Jr., all the Porter Juniors is, no relation. Precious Achiuwa, Joel Embiid, Spencer Dinwiddie, Miles Bridges, and Domantas Sabonis. At number 4, Micic again, Chris Dunn, Paul George, Miles Bridges, Walker Kessler, Spencer Dinwiddie, Jonathan Kuminga, Domantas Sabonis. Okay. Number 5, Westbrook, Mikal Bridges, Klay Thompson, PJ Washington, Domantas Sabonis, Spencer Dinwiddie, Kuminga, Trace Jackson Davis. So the main observation, you're getting a lot more Sabonis than I would have thought. I'm a little bit surprised by that. A little bit of Towns. I'm surprised you're not getting Jokic at all. Maybe Jokic thinks it's going to be too highly owned. No Jokic. You're getting other pay down centers. Not quite going all the way up at center here at the very least. You're getting a ton of Dinwiddie, which is not a surprise. Good amount of Bridges, not a surprise. I'm a little surprised at how much PJ Washington. I would certainly prefer Bridges. You can play both. But that's a lot of PJ Washington. Okay. Dinwiddie, though, confirmed good play. And in case you were doubting me before, one of the must plays on the slate. In terms of positive ROIs, nobody's got a positive ROI on the slate, but PJ Washington's the closest at negative 0.2%. Jonathan Kuminga, negative 5.6. Sabonis, negative 6. Embiid, negative 6.2. Chris Dunn, negative 7.1. Mark Williams, negative 7.5. Alex Sarr, negative 8.1. So these guys are the least negative right now in terms of all the plays on the slate. Obviously, just means those guys get in every lineup, so there's probably some that are bad, probably some that are overduped, things like that. In terms of exposures in the top 150, Spencer Dinwiddie, you're getting a 96% of lineups compared to the field 63. So Stokastic, this is just their data. My data has no impact on it. What you saw in the beginning of the video is my sim data. This is all theirs. So you're getting Dinwiddie in almost every lineup. Micic, you're getting above the field, but not too much more, 54% compared to 50. Mark Williams, 45% compared to 27. Kuminga, 44% compared to 22. So 2x the field on Kuminga. Jamal Murray, 41% compared to 30. So low on Jokic, high on Murray. Seems to be the Stokastic Sims way. Low on Miles Bridges, 37% compared to 50. I am high on Bridges. Chris Dunn, 35% compared to 16. Your most positively leveraged plays, Dinwiddie, 33% more than the field. Kuminga, 22% more than the field. Chris Dunn, 20% more than the field. PJ Washington, 18% more. Mark Williams, also 18%. Domantas Sabonis, 16%. That is a big stand on Sabonis. I'm surprised to see that one. Not a bad price tag on him, but I think 12% ownership feels like enough, but okay. Embiid, 14% for the field, 29% for Stokastic, so 15% leverage there. It just seems like they're trying to push you more towards the 9K centers and also Mark Williams too. An anti-Jokic fade. Where's Jokic at in their sims? Only 7% Jokic exposure, 1/3 of the field. So big anti-Jokic fade today. I don't agree. He could absolutely have a ceiling versus Utah, and that spread's closer than it probably should be. But Jokic, he's your highest anti-leverage play, your most negative leverage play, a negative 16%. Tajon Salon, negative 15.4. Miles Bridges, negative 13. Jordan Clarkson, negative 10% leverage. Norman Powell, negative 9.3. Same thing for Klay Thompson. I support that one. Still getting 20% of him, though, overall. Evan Mobley, negative 7. All right, so definitely some things I disagree with the Sims today. All right, guys, so my splash plays of the day. Before I do that, just one last pandering here. About 57% of people that watch these streams are not subscribed. It's a brand new channel. Like, I think subscribers generally your vanity metric, but let's get to 1,000 now. We passed 500. I appreciate that. The grind doesn't stop here. My work continues on. So your work, click and subscribe, hitting the like button continues on as well. So please support the show down below. Hit the like button, subscribe. Every day I show up, give you my projections, Unabated's best bets, Stokastic data. I'm showing you it all here and the best I can to give you the best read humanly possible during the 4 p.m. Eastern hour. Before everything changes and goes fucking askew. Check out the sponsors too. Stokastic 15% off, Unabated $30 off. Both of them promo code SPLASH. Both linked in the description down below. And Underdog $1,000 in bonus cash. Please check that out too, because I would love to get them to really sponsor the NBA channel coming up. And I got to renegotiate the beginning of next year. All right, so splash plays for the day. Spencer Dinwiddie, I think he's a lock. Miles Bridges, think he's a lock. Besides that, had some other values that I feel more strongly about. Mark Williams, again, I think is a little bit riskier. Micic, a little bit riskier. Those guys, I think, core plays. And Nikola Jokic, I think, in center as well. I think Mark Williams and Jokic, for whatever lineup I put in the big tournament, because most of my bankroll will be going towards the NFL today, I will probably have Jokic and Mark Williams on that team. Just a good matchup going against Chicago. I'm pretty confident I'll have Bridges and Dinwiddie on that team as well. So that's half your lineup right there. If you want to tail me, if you want to fade it all, follow your heart. I don't know. But gamble responsibly. I'll tell you what, fade me is not gambling responsibly. Please gamble responsibly, even though it is always money time here. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. And yes, back tomorrow, back on New Year's Eve for one more go round here. So let's see how that goes. I'll see you guys then. Enjoy your days. Go check me out on the Deeper Dive on Stokastic's channel in about 5 minutes. I'll talk about Westbrook with Josh Edelman for the entire hour. But I'll see you guys there. Enjoy your days and good luck. Bye-bye.